the case of Madeleine McCann, we all know the theories, the suspects, and the investigations, but there is a photo that has been left aside. Why? What does it reveal? And could it have changed everything? Today, we will analyze the secret that this image holds and the reason why it was hidden for so long. A picture is worth 1,000 words, that's what they say, right? But in the case of Madeleine McCann, this phrase takes on an even more unsettling meaning. There is a photo, a single image, that almost no one has seen. A photo that may contain hidden details, silenced for years. And what if I told you that this seemingly simple image could completely change the course of the investigations? Why was it set aside? Who benefited from hiding it? Imagine the weight of this photo, not just as a record of a moment, but as a piece of a puzzle that no one has been able to solve for over 15 years. What can it reveal about that day? Was something out of place? A person? An object? And more importantly, could this image have prevented the tragic outcome of this story? This is not just another conspiracy theory about the case. It is a crucial point that few know and that raises a disturbing question. How many pieces of evidence like this have been ignored over the years, and why? Now get ready, because throughout this video, you will see how this image fits into this puzzle and why it is so powerful and dangerous. Pay attention to every detail, because what you are about to discover might change the way we view everything that happened that day. Since Madeleine McCann's disappearance, we've heard it all. Theories pointing to mysterious strangers, conspiracies involving international networks, and even suspicions directed at those closest to her. But here is something you might not have expected. What if a crucial piece of evidence was always right in front of our eyes, or worse, deliberately hidden? Here is the twist. The photo we are talking about is not just any image. It was taken during that crucial period, before everything happened. It is one of the last visual memories we have of Madeleine. But there is a detail, or rather, an absence, that has never been publicly discussed. An example? Consider the role of photos in previous investigations. Did you know that in other famous cases, objects in the background or seemingly insignificant details in an image have already led to unexpected solutions? A shadow out of place, a reflection in a mirror, or even something more subtle, like the direction of a gaze. And that is exactly what makes this photo so intriguing. The question that cannot be silenced is, what did the investigators, the media, or even the people close to her miss by not analyzing it more deeply? If details can alter entire narratives, how can we be sure that this image does not hold the key to something bigger? But here is the most intriguing part. The reason why this photo was practically swept under the rug. It is not just negligence. There seems to be a greater effort to prevent it from becoming the center of attention. Is it because it contradicts the official version? Is it because it points to something or someone that shouldn't be there? This is the question we will investigate together. What makes this photo so important? What does it show us that others want to avoid? And is it the missing piece to connect the dots of a story full of contradictions? The real problem here is much bigger than just a photo. It's what it represents. For over 15 years, Madeleine McCann's disappearance has been a mystery that seems impossible to solve. Millions of euros have been invested in searches, investigations, and theories. But here we are, without definitive answers. And this photo symbolizes something that might be even more disturbing: the failures, mistakes, and even cover-ups that have marked this case from the beginning. Think about it for a moment. How many pieces of evidence have been ignored, misinterpreted, or simply discarded? From day one, the investigation was marked by chaos. The crime scene was compromised, witnesses gave contradictory testimonies, and crucial clues disappeared without explanation. Now imagine the impact of an image that might have gone unnoticed in this confusing scenario. For example, there are reports that Portuguese investigators did not give due attention to important visual elements during the first days of the investigation. Simple things like checking photos and videos taken by the family and friends themselves could have provided valuable clues, but that did not happen. And this photo in particular raises another question. How could something so simple have been so neglected? Does it bring something that no one wants to admit? A human error? A technical mistake? Or does it point to something darker? Something that could completely change the course of the case? The truth is, when it comes to a highly visible case, everything becomes politicized. Everything is debated, and many things end up being left aside. But why? And more importantly, who benefits from this? In the end, what this photo really represents is more than a forgotten detail. It is a symbol of how sometimes the truth is right in front of us, but we choose not to see it. Or worse, we are prevented from seeing it. And now it is up to us to question, are we prepared for what it might reveal? Can you imagine the weight of a single image? A photograph that, at first glance, seems mundane, but which can carry a secret that changes everything. Well, this photo, taken a few days before Madeleine McCann's disappearance, is one of them. It was captured during a moment that should have been one of happiness, relaxation, a memory any family would like to keep. It was the kind of record you take without thinking much, just to remember a sunny day, a smile, a playtime. But now, years later, it has become something much bigger than that. This photo was taken by Kate McCann, Madeleine's mother. The setting, the pool area at the Ocean Club Resort in Praia de Luz, where the family was on vacation. In the image, Madeleine is sitting next to her father, Jerry, with her feet in the water. She is smiling as any 3-year-old child would, and the moment seems so simple, so innocent. But it is precisely this simplicity that has become the center of so many questions. What was around her at that moment? What was out of place and went unnoticed? And more importantly, why was this photo left aside for so many years? When the image was revealed to the public, it was treated only as a family memory, something almost irrelevant to the investigation. But with each analyzed detail, new questions arise. What is not in the photo? Who was nearby but not captured? And if this image contains clues that we simply couldn't see at the time? Every time you look at it, it seems like something is hiding right there, in plain sight, but still out of reach. Now imagine the dilemma of the mother, looking at this photo years later. Kate must have asked herself hundreds of times, what did I not see that day? Where was the danger that I couldn't perceive? The image is not just a photograph. For her, it is a painful reminder of everything that could have been done to protect Madeleine. But this is where the story starts to get even more uncomfortable. This photo, taken in a moment of apparent tranquility, carries a detail that many ignored until they began to look more closely. Some experts say that the position of the people in the image can tell a much bigger story than it seems. What if something or someone in the photo indicates suspicious movement? Or more unsettling, what if what is absent is what really matters? In recent years, theorists and even some independent investigators have started to raise hypotheses about this image. Some point to the surrounding environment. Who else was nearby? Were there people in the background that initially no one noticed? Is there something in the expressions of the people that suggests discomfort, concern, or distraction? Others went further, analyzing shadows and reflections, trying to find any indication that could explain what happened afterward. The conflict increases when you realize how this photo was treated by the media and the authorities. Why didn't it receive the attention it deserved? Why wasn't it analyzed with the technological tools we have today? Was it negligence? Or was there an active effort to minimize its importance? Many believe that this photo, so simple in appearance, can contradict the narrative that was presented to the public about what really happened in those days. And now, with the advancement of technology, new digital analysis programs can enlarge and clarify details that were previously impossible to see. Reflections, pixels, light patterns, everything can reveal information that was hidden at first glance. But this raises another question. Can these new discoveries lead to answers or just more questions? Looking at this image, you can't help but feel a knot in your stomach. Because deep down, we all wonder, did something so important remain right in front of our eyes all this time? And what does this mean for the Madeleine McCann case? The answer might be closer than we think, but at the same time, it seems we are still far from reaching it. Now that we know about the existence of this forgotten photo in the Madeleine McCann case, the question that keeps lingering is, why was it neglected? And even more, what does this tell us about the way disappearance cases are handled? This image, captured with all the innocence of a family camera, could have been the key piece of a puzzle that remains incomplete to this day. When you look at this photo and realize how similar cases have been solved based on small visual details, the weight of its importance becomes even greater. Consider the case of J.C. Dugard, kidnapped and held captive for 18 years. During all that time, a photograph of her captor, taken by chance at a public event, ended up being the starting point for her identification. And it doesn't stop there. In other cases, like Elizabeth Smart's, small details captured in images, whether a piece of clothing or a face, made all the difference. But why then did Madeleine's photo, such a record so close to her disappearance, never receive the same treatment? It is almost impossible not to feel frustrated when thinking about what could have been done. Careful analysis of images which is so advanced today thanks to technology, could have been used to identify patterns, reflections, or even presences that went unnoticed at the time. Imagine if, in the background of the photo, something seemingly irrelevant revealed the decisive clue, something that would change the course of the investigation. The McCanns, carrying the weight of this mystery for so many years, must ask themselves daily, what did we not see? What did we let slip? And we, as observers, also wonder, did the system fail them? This is where emotion takes over, because we are not just dealing with a case, but with lives, hopes, and an outcome that never came. But what makes this photo even more intriguing is how it can be a reflection of systemic negligence. Statistics show that over 70% of resolved disappearance cases are based on visual evidence, photos, videos, or security camera records. This means that most of the time, what we see is as important as what we investigate. So, why wasn't this photo analyzed with all the rigor it deserved? When you delve into stories like these, you notice a disturbing pattern. Images that could save lives are often underestimated, whether due to a lack of technology at the time or due to negligence. In Madeleine's case, it's not just the lack of answers that bothers, but the wasted potential. Was there enough technology in 2007 for the photo to be studied? Or was it the lack of priority that relegated this evidence to oblivion? At the same time, think about the impact that analyzing this photo could have today with technological advancements. Modern software can enlarge, reconstruct, and even identify faces and reflections and shadows with a precision that seemed impossible years ago. Would a detailed examination now reveal something that was invisible until then? The idea that this image may contain something vital, something that could have been ignored or even deliberately set aside, raises an even deeper question. To what extent can we trust the system that is supposed to protect people? Was it negligence, or was there a conscious decision to divert the focus? Madeleine's photo represents more than a frozen moment in time. It is a symbol of how seemingly simple details can carry immense meanings. It is impossible not to think that if this image had received the attention it deserved at the time, perhaps we would be talking about a very different outcome now. And so, the suspense continues. There is still hope that this forgotten piece, an apparently mundane photograph, can finally bring to light something the whole world has been waiting for over 15 years: the truth. The photo in question was taken a few hours before Madeleine McCann's disappearance, capturing an apparently mundane moment. Madeleine, with the smile of a child who has no idea of the world's dangers, was sitting by the pool at the Ocean Club Resort, next to her father and younger sister. The sunlight reflected on the water. The atmosphere seemed calm, but what no one knew was that this would be one of her last visual records. Up to this point, it looks like just another family photo, but when we look closer, some questions begin to arise. Experts who revisited the image have raised an intriguing hypothesis. What if this photo shows something that everyone ignored? It is not just Madeleine's smile that draws attention, but what is in the background. At the edges of the image, there are figures that seem disconnected from the family, people who were not formally recognized in the investigation reports. Who were they? And why were they so close? Some believe that one of these people may have crucial information that never came to light, but the tension increases when we revisit the context. Shortly after this photo was taken, the McCann family's routine continued normally until the fateful disappearance that night. What the Portuguese police and international investigators failed to notice, however, is that every detail matters. Every shadow, every reflection can hold a vital clue. The negligence in fully analyzing this photo raises the question: was something crucial ignored? Did someone notice but choose not to act? The lack of clarity in the investigation becomes even more glaring when we remember the disorganized history of the operations conducted at the time. The Portuguese police were widely criticized for not adequately securing the crime scene and for losing evidence. Was the photo dismissed as useless amidst this chaos? Or worse, was it intentionally ignored because it could point to something too uncomfortable to investigate? Now imagine the impact this photo could have had if it had been thoroughly analyzed right at the beginning of the case. In other disappearances, seemingly simple images have proven crucial. In J.C. Dugard's case, for example, a photograph helped connect the suspects to patterns of suspicious behavior. Why then did Madeleine's photo not receive the necessary attention? The mysteries surrounding this image go beyond the obvious. There are questions that echo to this day. Did the photo contradict the official theories of the Portuguese police? Or did it simply not fit into the narrative constructed for the case? Subsequent reports also indicate inconsistencies in the testimonies of the social circle around the McCann family. Does this photo reveal something about that? Perhaps what was captured in that moment of relaxation by the pool holds details that were never explored or never wanted to be. Looking back, it is clear that this image is more than a family memory. It is a record that carries layers of mystery and uncertainties. And that is precisely why it deserves to be reanalyzed with the utmost care, especially with the advanced forensic technologies we have today. It is not just about the photo, it is about the negligence, the disregard, and the questions that perhaps were never asked. Meanwhile, we continue to wonder, what if this photo was the key to finally understanding what happened that night in 2007? If it had been analyzed differently, would we be telling a story with a clearer, or perhaps even resolved, ending today? The Madeleine McCann case is full of layers, and this forgotten and ignored image might be a painful reminder of how carelessness and lack of attention to detail can perpetuate the mystery. So what really happened there? That still remains unanswered. But one thing is certain, every detail matters, and perhaps this photo is proof of that. This forgotten photo may seem like just an insignificant detail in such a complex case as Madeleine McCann's, but as we have seen, it is precisely the small details that often reveal gigantic truths. I believe this image can bring answers, or at least new questions that still need to be asked. What we cannot accept is that something so important has been ignored, or perhaps even hidden. Cases like this show us how fragile the line is between truth and forgetfulness. That's why we must continue questioning, revisiting the facts, and demanding explanations. If this photo is not enough to solve the mystery, perhaps it is the missing piece to look at the case from a completely new angle. And speaking of hidden secrets, did you know that another famous case also has a mysterious piece of evidence that changed everything? In the next video, we will dive into an equally intriguing, and perhaps even more unbelievable, story. Click here to discover how an unexpected clue turned the game around. If you've made it this far, it's because you love mysteries that defy logic. So don't stop now. The next video is full of twists and turns you won't want to miss. And if you want to keep up with all the secrets and stories that no one else tells, subscribe to the channel now and activate the notifications. That way, you won't miss anything. And tell me in the comments, what do you think this photo really reveals? If you've stayed until here, comment, "The truth is in the details, so I know you watched everything." In the end, the biggest mystery is not the photo, it's the silence it carries. Let's discover together what it means. Until